Hello and welcome to the next episode of the Made Easy series. In this episode we'll cover how to read a scientific paper. A scientific paper generally has 4 different parts. These are the abstract, the introduction, the materials and methods, the results, and the discussion. We'll start off with the abstract. The abstract is a quick 1-paragraph overview of the entire paper. It is not fully representative of the results because, simply put, you can't summarize a paper in full with all the details within 1 paragraph. So if you just want a gist of the conclusions of the paper, just read the abstract. For everything else, the devil's in the details. Now onto the introduction. The introduction gives all the background information behind what led to the paper being published or the experiment being done, as well as a summary of the information you need to understand the paper itself. For instance, the paper you see on the screen, which will be cited in the description below, it's a paper by Dr. Bill Dean, one of my professors. In the context of this paper, Dr. Dean gives out an overview of the general history of nitrogen fertilization in the context of the growth of legumes. Next are the materials and methods. The materials and methods include where the experiment's been done, a list of all the variables that may dwell within said facility or location. In the case of this paper, it's 10 pieces of farmland, with the variables being soil quality, soil texture, the amount of organic matter, and a great deal of other environmental factors. This section of the paper also describes what equipment was used, how the experiments were designed, how data was collected, what assumptions were made, and finally statistical analysis. Statistical analysis is more or less the stats work you do to disprove the null hypothesis and to what degree are the results of your experiment accurate. On a side note, the null hypothesis means the results you're seeing have no statistical difference from chance. Next, you'll talk about the results. After all the experiments have been done and the data has been collected, the results are put into this section. So to see the full results of the experiment, read this section. And the final part is called the discussion. The discussion is where the researcher compares his results with what was obtained by other researchers doing similar experiments, as well as using this data to see what outcomes it could have if applied to other parts of the field experiment was done in context of. Like for instance, this is an agronomy paper, and as such, it'll be compared against other papers that talk about agronomy, or specifically other experiments with fertilizer, and how the outcome of this experiment could potentially affect the outcome of future studies in agronomy and agriculture in general, as well as comparing the experiments done here with other fertility experiments on the same subject. Sometimes it's split off into discussion and conclusion, like in this paper. Now on to other factors within the research paper. Here is another factor of the research paper. It's not part of the research paper proper, but it is important. It's the reference list. This is where all the references the researcher used to make the paper happen are found. These are useful if you want to further expand your knowledge on its paper and on the subject in general. Now here's how I would read a paper. The way I would read a scientific paper is, if I know the methodology, I read it from front to back. Simple as. If I don't know the methodology, what I would do is, and this is a frequent technique I often use in finding sources for my videos, first I read the intro, the results, and finally the discussion and conclusion of the paper. Then I do 2 things. First, after reading the paper, I think to myself, does this seem realistic? 9 times out of 10 this will be the case, in which case I move on to the next part. I look at the number of citations. This would be how many times this paper was cited. The more people that cite it means more people have looked at this paper, know its methods, and find the method satisfactory, and the conclusions logical. From what I've read, typically each paper gets about 4 citations per paper. So I aim for papers that have 4 or more citations for my videos. So if you're a layman in the subject area, like I am for some of these videos, what I do is, Read the intro, read the results, read the discussion, and or conclusion, and then look at the total number of citations. Well, that about covers everything. Thank you for watching. Thank you for watching this video. If you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe to me on BitChute for a greater variety of content, 4 videos a week. And thank you to all my subscribers on both platforms. I appreciate it.